Okay, so the first round of information about Furina is here, which means I can release this video containing my first take on how strong she looks and their potential synergies. Of course, we're still lacking some crucial information, like her particle generation or her animation timings, which means this video will be just a guess about how strong she'll be. Overall, she seems to follow the trend of other Fontaine units quite closely, of course. She scales from HP, and she seems to benefit hugely from any kind of HP change on the team, be it from HP loss or healing. First things first, from a damage perspective, her normal and charge attacks seem rather useless at Constellation 0. In fact, at this stage she doesn't have the Hydro Infusion on these attacks, so they will just be normal physical attacks which aren't good for damage. However, they compensate with some utility. Furina is quite an interesting character within the Fontaine cast, because she has both Uxia and Numa alignment, but she can have just one alignment at a time, and she can switch it by using her charge attack. The Uxia or Numa attack will be unleashed by Furina through her normal attacks, and also the alignment is quite important in terms of how the rest of her kit works. By this I mean her skill specifically has two versions, each of one based on what her alignment is at a current time. Let me remind you all that if you enjoy my work, my theory crafting, and my videos, you can show your support by subscribing and leaving a thumbs up and also following me on Twitter. To me, the most interesting part about her skill is definitely the one tied to her Uxia alignment, because it's the one that actually deals damage. The Uxia alignment skill will generate a Hydra attack AoE, and it will create 3 turrets which will deal damage at intervals, hydro damage of course. The peculiarity of the skill is that each turret while attacking will also absorb HP from nearby teammates, which means all the teammates on the team. By doing that, the turret's attack will also get stronger through a direct multiplier increase. But don't be afraid, they're not too little for the team, because they will stop absorbing HP when the teammate's health falls below 50%. Also, her second passive will give the turrets a damage bonus based on how much HP she has. So the HP part of her kit is very emphasized, considering the multiplier of the turrets as a baseline is also HP based fully. The second, more boring version of the skill, the Numa version, is just a healing effect that will heal the active character at intervals. Its healing properties in terms of multipliers are similar to Kokomi's jellyfish healing, so I'm assuming the frequency of the heal is also the same. The interesting part of both versions of the skill is that the duration of this ability is very long. Just like any arc on elemental skill duration we got in the past, like Raiden having a 25 seconds duration for her skill, Nahida the same, Zhongli having a 20 seconds long shield effect. Furina's skill will last for 30 seconds, and it has a cooldown of 20 seconds, which means it will have full uptime and more, making her very flexible in terms of how she will fit in all kinds of rotations. Her elemental burst ties to both the versions of her skill, because it will gain effectiveness following HP loss or healing. Specifically, after cast, each percent of HP lost or healed will make Furina gain a stack. Each of these stacks will dynamically increase the damage bonus for all the teammates and their healing bonus, so both the damage they'll deal and the healing they'll receive. At full stacks, these bonuses can get really astronomically high, but getting to those stack amount will be very hard, at least at Constellation 0. The big part of this is that getting a high amount of stacks with just her kit, it's just not feasible. In particular, since her turrets will stop draining HP from teammates when their health falls below 50%, without a healer on the team, a team-wide healer, the burst will stop gaining stacks. In general, assuming she'll fit on a wide array of team, I'll assume a pretty obvious partner will be Bennett, who at least will heal the active character a lot, and it will increase the stack generation of the burst. But maybe there is some synergy with stronger healers like Baiju as well, since she really gains a lot from having team-wide heals that are very effective. Even her first passive emphasizes the fact she pairs well with other healers, because it specifically says if Furina is not the one healing and the healed character is healed over 100%, so it's overhealed, then Furina will heal a character on the team by an additional amount. So in terms of synergy, even characters like Baiju or Kokomi, who are not as potent as Bennett in terms of buffing the active character, might fit well with Furina regardless, just because of how good they are in terms of healing potency, how much better they are compared to Bennett specifically. Also, of course, Fontaine characters who have HP draining mechanics like Nuviet will fit well with Furina's burst because they will be able to make it gain more stacks and faster. So for builds, I'm saving this for a dedicated video, but I think it's obvious to see that we finally have a holder of the Golden Troop set, which is a fortune considering all the other Fontaine units preferred the Marashu C set over this, which had Fischl as the only holder. So with Furina this changes, we have another great user of this set, considering most of her damage, basically 90% of her damage is coming from her turrets. So, probably the moment you were waiting for if you already knew how her kit worked. How good I think she is. I'm going to make some assumptions here that are neither optimistic or pessimistic in my opinion. The big things we don't know yet are three: her turret's attack frequency, her particle generation, and her Hydra application, which is probably the biggest one. For her attack frequency and overall damage, I'm assuming her frequency is the same as Yae turrets, since she also casts 3 turrets at most, and they have an attack frequency of 1 second each. Basically, I'm assuming that throughout the whole duration, she will deal 3 turrets attack every 3 seconds. I think this is realistic in terms of damage outlook as well, because it puts her damage output in line with somebody like Yelan, which is great considering it's just one of the parts her kit has to offer, and their burst specifically is something completely unrelated. For her particle generation, she has a quite long-lasting skill, but she won't be able to get most of the particles it generates because since it's a turret, it will generate particles over time, which means she'll be off-field when they get generated. So overall, I'm giving her the same energy requirements as Yelan for now because her burst has the same cost as hers, and even though she might generate more particles throughout the rotation, the fact she's off-field when they get generated is impactful. For her application, I'm just assuming she has the same as Yelan for now. I don't want to go higher and say Xingqiu Constellation 6 level of application because that would be just absurd to me, but I think putting her at the level of Yelan application is realistic for now. So having said all of this, I gauged her initial performance on 2 teams mainly. A team that has a hyper carry and a team where the damage is split between different teammates, so her burst has more meaning because it buffs all the teammates. The hyper team is the hyper Hutao team, which has just 1 Hydra unit. The version with Yelan has typically been the strongest variant of this team, but Focalors comes in and makes it kind of better at a glance. With all the HP drain from Hutao's elemental skill and Focalors' elemental skill, and also the Bennett healing on top of that, the Focalors burst will be allowed to get a lot of stacks, and this just makes the buff much more meaningful for this team specifically. Meanwhile, looking at teams that need a Hydra player and also have the damage sources of the team evenly split between different units, which makes the AoE buff from the burst more important. Something like Rational really benefits from the new Archon, because you have Raiden getting buffed on field and Xiangling getting the buff off field, which is something Yelan can't do. So even though their damage is similar, Furina's buffing capabilities are just more versatile and higher. However, there is an issue that comes from being paired to a healer that only heals the active character like Bennett, and specifically he heals the active character up to a specific amount, which is 70% HP. Since the inactive character won't receive Bennett heals most of the time, they might remain at 50% HP or below permanently, which makes both Focalors' burst buffing capabilities worse and her damage capabilities worse as well, since her turrets gain damage multipliers based on how many characters on the team have received an HP cut. The result is that while in the optimal best case scenario, Focalors is at net damage gain compared to Yelan on the few teams I calculated, in the worst case scenario, due to Bennett's lackluster healing, she might feel just on par with Yelan, which obviously isn't bad because why would it be bad to be on par with Yelan? But potentially this just gives more purpose to stronger healers, so it might open up more interesting option than just being paired to Bennett. Overall, while I can easily see Focalors potentially matching Yelan and Xingqiu, and maybe even more considering how flexible she has some drawbacks that make her kind of unique in the scope of the meta. Before I make more videos on her, I would wait for more information, but so far, so good.